welcome back to Geek Vibes Nation. I'm your host, Tia, and we're bringing back the top 10 with Tia. It's been a long time, and as they say, there's no time like the present. Please join me as I share my top 10 lists weekly, and if you have any requests, let us know. These top 10s are opinion-based, and as always, I welcome suggestions and your own top 10 opinions. To kick off this week's top 10, I'll be listing the top 10 video game villains. I've been back in the video game world, so let's get into it. Number 10, Bowser. I couldn't start a list about video game baddies without mentioning Bowser. Premiering in 1985's Super Mario Bros., Bowser has been a popular video game character, and as a kid, I would go to my grandparents' house and play Super Mario Bros. On the original Nintendo. Let me tell you, this little bastard was harder to beat than you think. Number 9, Margit the Fell. You may think I'm ranking this Elden Ring villain low on the list, but the truth is, I've never played Elden Ring. I have, however, watched my boyfriend play Elden Ring plenty of times, and this bad guy was hard. When Elden Ring first came out last year, many players got stuck on Margit, and for that, he deserves a place on this list. I'm sure for others that he would be higher, but for me, he's our number 9. Number 8, Dr. Robotnik. Just like with Bowser, this Sonic the Hedgehog villain is well known in the video game lore. First premiering in 1991's Sonic the Hedgehog, he's since been played in live action movies by Jim Carrey, and no matter what iteration, he provides challenges for both Sonic and the players alike. Number 7, the Joker. Considering the Joker is a great villain outside of the video game realm, it's no surprise that the Joker would be a great villain in video games. The Arkham franchise is a beloved franchise not only for Batman fans, but for video game fans alike. The Joker is just the cherry on the top. Number 6. We couldn't have a list about great video game villains without including Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village. Please excuse me if I didn't pronounce that correctly. It's just always a tongue twister for me. When Resident Evil Village came out, all people could talk about was Lady D. How could we not? With a sexual presence, she commanded the screen every time she was on it. And for that, she deserves the number 6. Now we're getting to my favorite portion of this video, the top 5. The villains who I really think are top tier video game villains. As I mentioned before, this is an opinion-based video, so I'm sure that your top 5 is going to look a lot different than my top 5. These are just the villains of the games that I have played and that I feel really encompass what makes a great video game villain, both story-wise and all that other good stuff. So let's get into it. Number 5, Makarov from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Whether it's the original or the reboot, Makarov is a menacing force to contend with. The mission No Russian in the original was so controversial that later renditions of the game came with the offer to skip the mission entirely. The entire new reboot essentially centered around leading up to Makarov. And he killed Soap, so he definitely gets the number 5 part on this list. And if you didn't know that Makarov killed Soap in the reboot, I am sorry to have told you, but R.I.P. Johnny McTavish. Now, warning, the next 4 are all Rockstar villains. It's not my fault that Rockstar Games just knows how to really make a great villain in video games, so sorry. Number 4. I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large. Yep. We're talking about Big Smoke from GTA San Andreas. Big Smoke starts as the main protagonist CJ's friend, but you find out in the game that Big Smoke is not to be trusted. He betrays CJ and the Grove Street gang. He is proof that sometimes it is those that you think are your friends who end up stabbing you in the back. Needless to say that if you played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas back in the day, you hated this guy, and for good reason. So that is why Big Smoke takes the number 4 spot. Number 3, Dmitry Rascalov from Grand Theft Auto 4. See, I love GTA 4 more than I like GTA 5. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but the story of Nico Bellic coming to America to not only reunite with his cousin Roman, but the search for the man who betrayed him back home made for one of GTA's best stories. Dimitri starts out as a meek, rational ally who is seemingly on Nico's side. However, he is a snake in the grass who betrays Nico and leads to a lot of death and destruction. He is the bane of your existence for much of the story, and depending on what ending you go with, he can be the cause for Roman's death. When you're first playing this game, you really think that this guy is on your side, but you look back and you see that he was not to be trusted from day one. I wish that characters like Dmitry Raskolov got more attention when it came to people who play video games, but because GTA 4 is already underrated, especially when you think about the giant that GTA 5 is, people don't always talk about Dmitry, but let me tell you, when you're thinking about all of the GTA villains, this guy definitely ranks up at the top. Number 2, Micah Bell from Red Dead Redemption 2. I really struggled with who to put in the top 2, but Micah Bell had to go here. From the jump, we knew Micah Bell was no good, but Dutch trusted him and he was a part of the Vanderlyn gang. Micah is just a despicable character. He's rude, crazy, racist, sexist, and a traitor. His treatment of Arthur and the other members of the group is terrible and borderline heartbreaking, especially towards the end. Depending on what ending you choose for Arthur and whether you have high honor or low honor, Micah is directly responsible for Arthur's death. And that just really makes me want to tear my own hair out when you think about the story of Arthur Morgan. Micah used Dutch to his own advantage and doomed the gang. It's also heavily implied that he killed Jack's dog. Bastard. Good thing John got his revenge in the end. Now, we are at number 1. Dutch Vanderlyn from Red Dead Redemption 1 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Now you see why I struggled with the top 2. Did I want to put Micah in the number 2 or Dutch in the number 1? But let's admit it, Dutch had to go in the number 1 spot. Dutch Vanderlyn is such a wonderfully written character, it's hard to think he's a fictional character at all. Rockstar Games really hits it out of the park with this guy. In the first game, we see a washed out shell of the man that he once was, someone who's struggling to contend with the way the world is changing and the fact that we are done with the world of gunslingers and that if you're an outlaw, you can't just do what you want to do anymore and get away with it. In RDR2, he's a charismatic leader who essentially leads his people to hell. He is death riding in on a white horse. He turns his back on Arthur in the end and shows that he's nothing but a narcissistic man who unravels once his plans don't go the way that he wants them to. I could make a whole video on why Dutch is the worst of the worst while also being the best. There are plenty of videos out there that talk about that Dutch didn't just change from one day out of the blue. While you think that he had everyone's best intentions at first, and he is certainly a charismatic leader who knows how to talk the good talk, this is a man who was out for his own selfish intentions since day one. And I'll link some of those videos down below because it was after playing RDR2 and also watching some of these videos that I did realize that Dutch was always this man. It just took us and Arthur a bit to see this. And for that, he deserves the number 1 spot. As I said, my top 10 isn't going to look like your top 10. I love Rockstar Games, so that's probably why most of these spots on this list are from Rockstar Games. But if you are any other type of gamer and you like other type of franchises, you'll probably disagree with me. I know that I've missed out on some of the Halo villains, the God of War villains, so please let me know down below, who would you put in your top 10 best video game villains? While we love video games and we certainly love playing as the hero, sometimes it's that villain that makes a video game really special. Again, this is Tia from Geek Vibes Nation. I'm hoping to be back with the top 10 with Tia for every week. And I have a few ideas for some of the upcoming lists that I'm about to do. But if you have any ideas, please shoot them down below. We would love, if you are not subscribed, for you to just please press that subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can find Geek Vibes Nation on Twitter, now known as X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and even Threads. And you can find me personally on TikTok at TC_Stark. It's been wonderful being back with the top 10 with Tia, and I hope to be back here next week. Bye.